Hey everyone, welcome to yet another session of your favorite Love Thy RCs. We are going to take up a passage today from CAT 2020, I think slot 2. Uh, the objective of the session stays the same, ये सब अब आपको पता है, ठीक है, understand the main idea, map the passage and all these things. So straight away I'll take you over to the passage and let's get down to solving it. So what does it talk about? It speaks something about our renewable energy technologies, low carbon world, something to do with climate and global warming, climate change, right? So first I take a look at this passage like I usually do. Hydropower, low carbon world, okay, renewable energy, emerging sector, renewables, all right, cool. Some data, not very dense, of course, a very easy topic to understand. I would definitely love to do this passage. But I always check the questions as well in order to decide whether this is a doable passage or not. So questions क्या कह रहा है? All of the following statements, if true, could be seen as supporting the arguments in the passage except. So all of the following statements, supporting, except, kind of critical reasoning and true false, दोनों का mixture होता है. Which of the following statements, if false, could be seen as best supporting the arguments of the passage? Okay. If false, again critical reasoning. Which one of the following statements, if true, could be an accurate inference? Simple बोले तो inference question है, paragraph related है, so do not get thrown off by seeing this. I mean, in case you start thinking तीन questions critical reasoning, dump मारो इस passage को. I may dump the earlier 2 questions, but then this is definitely doable as it's connected to the first para. And simple inference. ये तो खाली आपको गुमराह करने के लिए लिखा है. Which one of the following statements best captures the main argument of the last para? Again, para specific. So I would love to do this and this. Based on the passage, we can infer. Author would be most supportive of which of the following practices? So this is the author's viewpoint, so kind of conclusion. So definitely I would love to do this. So in the test, if you give me this passage, I may do only 3 and move on. It's my choice, right? Okay. What does the passage say? Okay, this is the first slide, right? In a low carbon world, renewable energy technologies are hot business. Renewable energy. We know what renewable energy is, don't we? There are our cars, there are our industries. So cars are belching out a lot of smoke. Industries are sending out stacks of smoke. Effluents are industries. Okay, so we are always on the lookout for renewable energy technologies. Something that doesn't exhaust our resources, something that doesn't harm the environment so much as these do. For investors looking to redirect funds, wind turbines and solar panels, okay, seem a straightforward choice. बहुत आसान solution दिख तो रहा है. Solar panels and wind turbines. But, but renewables need to be further scrutinized before being championed as forging a path toward a low carbon future. Further scrutinized. You need to check. This is what he says. Both the direct and indirect impacts of this must be examined. Climate smart future, intensify. Social environmental harm, don't intensify. As renewable energy production requires this, imposes costs. Okay, Sara, you have to be a little careful. This is what he says. Have led to this. Hydropower projects. People generally do. Governments come up with hydropower projects, but the author says you should be careful because in the past they have led to community dispossession and exclusion. So exclusion is when marginalized communities do not get the benefits of these things. Renewable energy supply chains are also intertwined with this, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Furthermore, although renewable energy can be produced and distributed through small scale, such an approach might not generate. Okay, so basically, you can skim this para very easily. Why? See, this is the first para. We generally read the first para, but in this para, we understand he's just giving you the various reasons why these need to be scrutinized further, how these may fail in their objectives in the big picture. So the facts, the things, the reasons. Renewable energy requires this, it imposes costs, and then supply chain, and then this. 3-4 reasons are there, 3-4 things he has mentioned. So I know that there's going to be a question connected with this. True, false, yeah, weekend, kuch to aisa hoga. Although an emerging sector, renewables are enmeshed in long-standing resource extraction. So they are dependent on minerals and metals. Scholars document the negative consequences of minerals and metals, negative consequences of mining, and ये सारी चीजें you can skim. Fragile states, Africa, Asia, Latin America, okay. Now he says this intensification could worsen the existing consequences. यहाँ पर भी even in this para he is talking about the worsening of these things. So just be more careful, he says. This supports the claim made in the first para. Among the connections between climate change and waste, O'Neill highlights the devices developed to reduce our carbon footprint such as batteries, lithium batteries, potentially dangerous. This is another problem. Lithium batteries become dangerous. The disposal of toxic waste, that's the effluents coming out of the industries, has long perpetuated injustice through the flows of waste to the global south, where the marginalized communities live. South बोले तो अपने इंडिया का south नहीं. Global south and global north, like generally these two are considered the divisions, and global south generally is considered the part that gets fewer resources and fewer benefits, and to marginalized communities in the global north. So this para connects with carbon footprint and how the disposal of toxic waste. So basically again and again he's talking about how we need to be careful. That is the main idea, and all the paragraphs are connected with that. Now what does this say? This is the last para, right? So it's a big para. I'm going to skim a little, but here I'm going to read. While renewable energy is a more recent addition to financial portfolios, investments in the sector must be considered understanding capital accumulation. Concentration of control of corporate activity. So this is talking about corporate activity and capitalism and profit generation. Climate activists' promise of renewables rests on their ability not this, provide this. So even if you don't read this para completely, or you feel that this is a very big para, I can't understand much, I'm going to take 3 to 4 minutes to read and understand this para, please don't do that. Because all the paras are pointing to that same thing, that renewables are there in this world. We are focusing on renewables, but we need to be careful because of this reason. In every para, he has come up with certain reasons. Here he talks about climate activists and agricultural finance and business and profit generation. But Burke and Stephens caution that renewable energy systems offer a possibility but not a certainty for more democratic. Okay. Small scale distributed forms of energy only profitable. Okay. So it's not democratic also. Democratic means inclusion, means everybody gets the benefits. Renewable energy, now I'm going to read these last 4 lines very carefully. Okay, first part to I understand, he talks about business and something like he's connecting, so you don't need to read word for word. Okay, now here. So renewable energy can be produced at the household or neighborhood level. Okay, however, such small scale localized production. So if you come up with such small scale localized thing, this is unlikely to generate high returns for investors. So maybe he's saying small scale this are only so small scale distributed forms will include other people also, will include the marginalized communities. Maybe this will be more democratic, but then the thing is you cannot you cannot generate high returns for investors. So what will happen? The investors would definitely want these activities to be done in the big areas. For financial growth to be sustained and expanded, production and trade will need to be highly concentrated, and large asset management firms will likely drive those developments. So this cannot be democratic, this cannot ensure equitable distribution of benefits and resources and all those things. Right. So देखा जाए तो there is actually nothing much in this passage except why we should be careful while using renewable energy technologies. He starts by saying it's hot business. Everybody wants this, and it looks as easy as pie because they think wind turbines and solar panels are the solution, but they need to be further scrutinized, and why the reasons are given here in this para as well as in all the other paras, both blah blah. So you just have to keep an eye on this. I mean, you have to keep an eye on the different paragraphs and see what is where. So you know what, like with practice, you are going to understand how to handle different types of passages. Like in this passage, I really feel reading the dense parts doesn't make sense, because if there is a question related to that portion, I'll come back. However, the mapping is very important. I know what is where in this passage, and now I'm going to take you over to the questions. So not more than 90 seconds is needed for such a passage ka reading. Okay, I don't want to start with this, neither this. I'll start with this. If true could be an accurate inference, kaat do isko. Which one is an inference from the first para? True. Others are false. Correct. Now I take you back to the options. Sorry, I take you back to the passage. I'm not going to read the entire paragraph again, but just see what he's saying. Renewable, scrutinized, okay, direct, okay, examined to ensure renewable energy, okay. So just kind of a quick recap. Supply chains, intertwined, mining, okay. I know that this is a big para. If I read it again, then go to the question, options, I'll again forget, again I'll come back, again read, this is easily going to take me 2 to 3 minutes. It's better to take a shortcut and just go to the options. Inference ही पूछा है, it has to be something true from the passage. Go to the options and try to pick the options, go back and verify. As you can see here, 3 false. So we are looking for 3 options with traps. Only 1 is true. The author's only reservation is about the profitability of renewable energy systems. Only reservation, this itself is a red flag. Profitability, by that was discussed in the last para. So that is one of his concerns, right? Not the only thing. Only reservation is concern. So this is definitely out. Red flag ke hisab se mark kar lo. The author does not think renewable energy systems can be as efficient as non-renewable. Faulty comparison. Again, a red flag, right? So what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to look for the one that is balanced by eliminating the others. Then I'm going to take that and go and verify. That helps me save time. The author has reservations about the consequences of non-renewable energy systems. Okay, I'm left with 3 and 4. Look at the difference between the two. Reservations about the consequences of non-renewable or renewable. Why do you even need to go back for this? I mean, obviously the whole passage is about renewable. The first para is about renewable and the author has expressed his concerns. So this is your answer. Yes, this is actual cat. It can be as easy as this, and it is sometimes as easy as this. You have to just know which questions to pick, which to drop. So this question I said simple inference है, para related है, para specific, definitely अच्छा ही होगा. It limits your range, so you don't have to worry वहाँ है कि वहाँ है कहाँ है. Which one of the following captures the main argument of the last para? Last para was talking about your corporate and profitability. But we don't remember much, so we'll go back and try to see. Bada para tha, we had skimmed the middle portion. I'm not going to read it again. Pura bada itna to nahi padungi. So I'm just going to see conclusion kya hai. Localized production is unlikely to generate returns. Okay, he's talking about small scale. Okay, let's take the options once, because then we can see which 2 or 3 are left. This one? No. It was this. Sorry. Main argument of the last para. So 1 true, F. You see my point? I'm not doing true false in this. But doing this makes my work easy. It gives me clarity. So 3F bole to I'm looking for 3 options with traps. Only one has to be the correct answer, na? Main argument. Right? Must be traps. Dekhte hain chalo. Renewable energy systems are not democratic unless they are corporate controlled. Okay. Not democratic. unless they are corporate controlled. In the para, he has mentioned that these cannot be democratic because they are corporate controlled, right? In case you have got a doubt or you didn't understand the first time when you were reading the passage, you can go back. Democratic he has mentioned here, no? Yeah. For some climate activists, the promise of renewables rests on the ability not only to reduce emissions but also to provide this distributed access to energy. But how can this happen? More democratic energy futures, not a certainty. Small scale कर नहीं सकते हो आप, and the big companies are actually, yeah, asset management firms will drive those developments. So he has his contention, democratic तो हो नहीं सकता है. You are saying here renewable energy systems are not democratic unless they are corporate controlled. No, ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. So this is out. Then renewable energy produced at the household or neighborhood level is more efficient than mass produced forms of energy. Faulty comparison, do you see? More efficient than. He hasn't discussed that household wala ka, like which is better. Are only highly profitable to institutional investors if control is consolidated somewhere in the financial chain. So control is there in the financial chain, somewhere consolidated, it becomes profitable to them. Obviously then it cannot be democratic. But he hasn't spoken here which is superior, can be produced at the household level. However, such small scale production is unlikely to generate returns. So it's paradoxical, right? So more efficient than this, faulty comparison, I'll eliminate it. Moreover, he asks for the main idea. The development of the renewable energy sector is a double-edged sword. What does he mean by this? Means you take a double-edged sword, both the sides are going to hit you. You do this and you get hit, you do this and you get hit. देखते हैं ये. This kind of sounds like a conclusion and a main idea. Most forms of renewable energy are not profitable investments for institutional investors. Extreme, right? I put this as a red flag and now I'm left with this double-edged sword. I just take this, go back and I try to prove it. This is how I save my time. So this is in front of you. CAT has actually given this and many times it happens. Process of elimination techniques are very much there. This saves time. Okay, so यहाँ पे he says, look here, he says this, it can be produced at this level, but it won't give you returns. If it doesn't give you returns, financial growth cannot be sustained. So you do this, still you're unhappy. You do this, asset management, still you're unhappy. So yes, double-edged sword, that way is justified, and this is more like a conclusion or claim or type wala. So this is your answer. Good question. Based on the passage, we can infer that the author would be most supportive. Even before you go to that, you can think of it this way. The author doesn't say don't go for renewables. Do renewable stuff, renewable energy wala, but be careful. That is what he says. Be careful. We'll go down and we'll see. This is definitely a conclusion type. The study of the coexistence of marginalized people with their environments. Most supportive of. Okay. Encouragement for the development of more environment-friendly carbon-based fuels. Okay. ये भी तो सही लग रहा है, ये भी सही लग रहा है मुझे. More stringent global policies and regulations to ensure a more just system of toxic waste disposal. Okay. The localized small scale development of renewable energy systems. Small scale development. Okay. Now, I have got a Gyan point here. Here, all the options seem correct. I'll give you the elimination, don't you worry about it. But at one glance, everything seems correct. I would not, as a student, I would not attempt this question and waste my time. At one glance, you should be able to see something, this is eliminated, कुछ तो होना चाहिए. यहाँ पे तो सब सही लग रहा है. Author would be most supportive of. But I'll tell you how to eliminate in this. Okay. The author would be most supportive of. That has to be based on his main idea. Main idea is renewables. Treat renewables with caution, right? if we eliminate the localized small scale development of renewable energy systems. Why would he support this? He says very clearly, abhi we solved a question, he says it's a double-edged sword. Both the sides cannot give us happiness. They'll kill us. In the paragraph, the last para, he says, in a world driven by investors, what will happen? The investors are not going to make profit if you focus on small scale development of this. So why would the author support this? He is also living in this world, right? He says that it can be done, but then what's the use? So this is out. Okay. More stringent global policies and regulations to ensure a more just system of toxic waste disposal. He has talked about inequitable distribution, and we can go to toxic waste and check. The encouragement, so by now, like just by solving D and C, I understand what the question is doing. It's asking me to verify each point and see which one is true, which is false. Correct? So small scale wala, last para, I'll write here for you, last para. Toxic, I need to check and see the author's view. Is this going against author's view or is it supporting? Ye dekhna hai. Encouragement for the development of more environment friendly carbon based fuels, right? I'll go to this carbon based fuels, study of coexistence of this with their environments. Okay, I'll take you back now. Toxic waste disposal, I'll take you to that. So we are looking for marginalized communities and toxic waste and carbon wala kya tha? I'll show you, wait, carbon wala, carbon based fuels, yes. Now, यहाँ देखो, इसमें होना चाहिए. Dependence on this, scholars document, okay, even for mining operations, carbon based, अच्छा. यहाँ earth's minerals का, ये तो इसका minerals and all का बोला है, marginal, हाँ, okay. Are found in fragile states and under communities of marginalized peoples in this. Since the demand for this will increase substantially, renewable powered future, this intensification could worsen the existing consequences of this. So he has mentioned marginalized peoples, the marginalized communities, but is he saying that this is needed? I mean, his focus is on mining, his focus is on this, consequences of extractive activities. He is not saying that marginalized communities pe we have to study how they exist, coexist with their nature. I don't think this goes with his viewpoint. Among the connections between this, reduce carbon footprint, lithium batteries, okay, toxic waste, ye dekho. The disposal of toxic waste has perpetuated injustice through the flows of this. So the author would definitely say, please try to reduce the inequality that is happening because of toxic waste, right? So I'll take you back to the options now. I'm sure you can see light now. Hum kar kya rahe hain? So more stringent global policies, he would want to come up with this. Don't think this way. Policies वहां दिया नहीं है, नहीं पूछा है. He would be supportive of which of the following practices based on his idea. So उसको लगता है inequality and injustice हो रहा है because of toxic waste disposal. So he would definitely support this, right? So I like this. अब जब ये मिल गया है, ठीक है, and we are trying to kind of look for supportive, so connect with true false, we can go ahead with this and mark it. However, I'll show you the elimination for the other two here. Now, study of the coexistence I showed you. Marginalized people दे रखा है, but marginalized people का the author is concerned about the effects of extractive activities, not about how they exist, how they coexist with the environment, with nature. ऐसा नहीं है. This is very halka. This is not his concern. So this is out. 2. Encouragement for the development of carbon-based fuels. I'll take you straight to that point. कहीं तो दिया है, remember, carbon based fuels, wait, okay, carbon future, attract capital, low carbon world बोला है, ठीक है. मेटल्स और इसका है, इसमें तो मिनरल्स एंड मेटल्स, एक्सट्रैक्टिव, क्लाइमेट चेंज, ऑलराइट, कार्बन फुटप्रिंट रिड्यूस करना है, इनइक्वालिटी इनजस्टिस का बोला है, फाइनेंशियल पोर्टफोलियोज, ओके, also okay. So he hasn't actually discussed something disastrous that's happening because of carbon based fuels या कुछ, तो I'll take you back to this now. ये वाला था, हाँ. So this says encouragement for the development of more environment friendly carbon based fuels. Environment friendly carbon based fuels, पहला point तो he's not given it directly anywhere. This discussion make it like, this is something that is causing this, just like we found for this. Toxic waste disposal is doing this. So carbon based fuels may more environment friendly again would be like something renewables, right? So renewables का तो वैसे ही वो कह रहा है कि go cautiously, proceed cautiously. So between these two, since we can locate this very easily, toxic waste disposal दे रखा है आपको. टॉक्सिक वेस्ट डिस्पोजल के वजह से देयर इज लाइक इनइक्वालिटी दैट इज परपेचुएटेड एवरीवेयर, ग्लोबल नॉर्थ, ग्लोबल साउथ. सो इफ वी कम अप विद समथिंग लाइक पॉलिसीज, ही वुड डेफिनेटली सपोर्ट. So this should be on. So this was a doable question. I like this. This was a doable question, but again इसमें मैंने बोला आपको कि now I have told you how to do this. Okay, but in case you are confused and you feel that all are correct or you are not able to connect करना कैसे है, solve true false है, क्या करना है, you have to go and check each point. जैसे I showed you the points, carbon based fuels you have to verify, marginalized you have to verify. So in case you are confused, you can just leave it. This one was definitely very easy. This one pretty good. Now we'll go over to these. Which of the following statements, if false, you make it if true, and supporting you make weakening, right? This is how we do it if there is if false. So which of the following statements would weaken the arguments? Okay, now this could be connected to one main argument, the main idea, or it could be connected to random arguments. If it's connected to random arguments, simply you have to play true false. Okay, now renewable energy systems are not as profitable as non-renewable energy systems. Not, we are looking for one that is weakening, right? Okay. Renewable energy systems are as expensive as non-renewable. Okay. The production and distribution of this through small scale local systems is not. Acha, wait, I'll tell you now. वैसे तो this question is like, I think, the best question of the lot. I'll tell you why. इसको ना, if you see this and you do this, and then if you get kind of caught up in these options, I'm telling you it's going to take away a lot of time. That's why I suggest quickly check the options, okay, and keep a rough sheet handy. अभी जैसे rough sheet में could be seen as weakening. Weaken. The others could be neutral, support, neutral, support, neutral, support. This one, okay, the author says renewable, okay, renewable is not always good. You have to be cautious, correct? There is this happening, that happening. You have to say no, nothing of that sort is happening. You are wrong. We can ऐसे ही करेंगे. Now if you check the options, यहाँ फंस रहे हो, यहाँ फंस रहे हो, यहाँ फंस रहे हो. The moment you come to this, just see renewable energy systems have little or no environmental impact. So this is going against the author's point, because author has said everywhere, extractive में, toxic waste में, everywhere he has said that there is environmental impact. So this is weakening it. I'll show you what the others say. The production and distribution of renewable energy through small scale local systems is not economically sustainable. तो author ने भी तो यही बोला है. If you produce it through small scale local systems, it is not economically feasible because the investors are not going to get the benefits, the profits. So this is supporting it. Renewable energy systems are as expensive as non-renewable energy systems. These are as expensive. So maybe the author has said somewhere about democratic, okay, yeah, investors forging both the direct, okay, requires this, imposes costs on people and environment. So hydropower have led to this, also intertwined. Okay. Now I'll tell you something here. Even if you're not going to prove this, as expensive as this, still you can see that this is like they are expensive. So if this is not exactly supporting him, maybe this is neutral. You're getting it? The other three have to either support or be neutral. So if this is not mentioned exactly, this is going to be neutral. It's not doing, neutral means it does nothing to your claim. Okay. And in the passage he says that these also incur some cost. So ऐसा नहीं कि बिल्कुल ही they cost peanuts आप कर सकते हो इसको. So this doesn't weaken him. Correct? And this one, renewable energy systems are not as profitable as non-renewable energy systems. So now ये बोला है weakening the arguments, you're looking for one that goes against the author, right? So renewable energy systems are not as profitable as renewable energy are not as profitable as non-renewable. You go over here to the profit wala part and you see here, considered in light of this, concentration of control, the promise of renewables, not only this but this, renewable energy, certainty for this. So we can see here भाई non-renewable का ये non-renewable के जैसा profitable है कि नहीं है कि क्या है, that comparison is not given. So this doesn't weaken his claim. This can be again called, okay, it does nothing to the claim. ठीक है? So this was an easy one. Renewable energy systems have little or no environmental impact, because in the whole passage he has ranted कि इससे ये हो रहा है उससे वो हो रहा है. Now question 1. All of the following statements support, except. Support, support, support. One will weaken or it will be neutral. Okay. So again I can see these are like random. Africa, Asia, Latin America, agricultural finance. So, okay. We are looking for 3 support and 1 that weakens or neutral, jo kuch bhi hai. So let's check the options now one by one. Marginalized people of Africa, Asia and Latin America have often been the main sufferers of corporate mineral extraction projects. यहाँ बोला है ये fragile states and under communities, ये तो है, right? So this supports. समझ में आया आपको? Now we are simply playing true false का game. The example of agricultural finance helps us see how to concentrate corporate activity in the renewable energy sector. Agricultural finance, okay, यहाँ है, right? As agricultural finance reveals concentration of this profit generation. This is obviously supporting it. One reason for the perpetuation of social injustice lies in the problem of disposal. ये तो अभी हमने पढ़ा ना. We don't need to go back again. So this supports. The possible negative impacts of renewable energy need to be studied before it can be offered as a financial investment opportunity. Now, this one, अब आप यहाँ पे ना, you're definitely going to think this also the author has said, so this is supporting it. This is not actually supporting it. See, I'll tell you why. This is neutral. It's not even weakening his point. He's saying here, the possible negative impacts of renewable energy need to be studied before it can be offered as a financial investment opportunity. This is something that he has given there in the passage. This is a premise. I mean, all these 3 points, Africa, Asia, Latin America and agricultural finance and perpetuation, these are kind of supporting his claim that yes, we need to be careful about this. But this number 4 says very clearly, the possible negative impacts of this need to be studied. Financial investment opportunity. I'll take you back to this. यहाँ देखो. Renewable energy is a more recent addition to financial portfolios. Investments in the sector must be considered in light of our understanding of capital accumulation. Okay. ये भी तो देखो. Investments in this sector must be considered, okay, capital accumulation. As agricultural finance reveals, the concentration, corporate activity facilitates profit generation. The promise of this, not only to do this, but also to provide distributed ye, right? So यहाँ पे now, so if you go with this, the author is saying here clearly that if we have to look at renewable energy from the financial viability point, we have to consider it in light of our understanding of capital accumulation and not because of its possible negative impacts. So he has given this over there. This is a premise that financial investment opportunity portfolio, it has been added to the financial portfolio, but these negative impacts, I mean, see, the author says in the whole passage, you need to consider this angle, you need to consider this angle, but when it comes to profitability, he says we need to look at it from the angle of capital accumulation. He doesn't say that we need to look, this has been added to the portfolio, so we need to look at it thinking, acha, whether it's going to be profitable or not, whether, whether there are negative or positive impacts or not. No. He says profit to karna hai, the venture capitalists and all, they are putting in money, they want profitability. So you have to see it from the light of capital accumulation, that if we are doing this, where is the capital going, where is the accumulation happening, and then in that paragraph he explains how the capital accumulates in the hands of a few, which further perpetuates capitalism, right? And then in the second part of the para he says, so we can do it at the small scale. We can think of doing it, but then again, if we think of doing it at the small scale, it's not going to be very beneficial. You got it? So that para is about capital accumulation that needs to be considered before you actually go ahead with renewable wala investment. So this says negative impacts need to be studied before this. No. It's given as a fact that it has been added to the portfolio, but you need to consider capital accumulation in order to do this. So this was your, this is the odd one out, not odd one out, I would say, this is the one that goes against. So it's not even, I would say, weakening. This is kind of neutral बोल लो तो ठीक है, because चलो वीकनिंग ही बोल के इसको कर सकते हैं, बट आई एम नॉट वेरी हैप्पी अबाउट कॉलिंग इट वीकनिंग. मतलब वहां बोला है कैपिटल अक्यूमुलेशन, ये नेगेटिव इंपैक्ट्स ऑफ रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी नीड टू बी स्टडीड. सो काइंड ऑफ न्यूट्रल, इट डजंट डू एनीथिंग टू हिज क्लेम. ओके, वो उसने बोला इसकी इस तरफ से देखना है, ये कह रहा है नेगेटिव इम्पैक्ट्स. सो नेगेटिव इम्पैक्ट्स कैन बी लाइक कंप्लीटली ओवरऑल, देयर कैन बी लाइक 10 to 12 नेगेटिव इम्पैक्ट्स दैट ही हैज एक्सप्लेन्ड. And this para says capital accumulation. So it's not exactly refuting the author's claim, not going against him, but this doesn't do much to the claim. So this is your answer, and these three are like definitely proved. So these are supporting. Okay guys. Now again, a piece of advice in the end, you could have done 3 questions from this and moved on. Please do not take it on your ego कि मैंने तो ये कर ही लेना है क्योंकि मैंने पैसेज पढ़ने में टाइम दिया है. Okay, don't think this way. Just be good at selecting questions. Questions that are low hanging fruit should be taken right away. Solve them, like they should take you not more than 60 to 90 seconds per question wala. ठीक है? Okay, I'm going to see you again. Take care. Bye bye. Okay.